What's up, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. Well, of course, if you are watching on our fast-growing YouTube channel, that is Tar Heel Illustrated. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me, as he always does, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And AJ here for another look-ahead podcast, looking ahead to the NC State game this Saturday and to the Syracuse game, senior night for the Tar Heels next Monday as well. Going to be looking at those two games in this one. But before we do that, I want to give a quick shout out to our podcast sponsor, The Rogue Shop. Check them out at therogueshop.com. Specialize in top shelf family grown hemp products. You guys know the drill. If you watch our podcast, you know this stuff is legit. AJ can vouch for it. I can vouch for it. Even our very own Kevin Roy can vouch for it. So whatever you're into, CBD, Delta 8, Delta 9, whatever form you like it, tinctures, oils, gummies, even got some candies and different things like that as well. Check them out at therogueshop.com. And don't forget, if you do want to buy some products from them, use that promo code TARHEELS10 to save. So, AJ, let's dive into this one, man. This is always a fun one to look ahead to the Tar Heels next couple of games coming up here. And, the season's not too far away, the regular season, I should say, not too far away from ending now. But let's start first with the NC State game, 2 p.m. tip in Raleigh, PNC Arena on Saturday afternoon. That game will be televised on ESPN. Me and AJ will be there for that one as well. And, it's North Carolina, NC State. It's always a big game. I know it is an NC State team that's been struggling a lot this year. I know Carolina handled them very easily, 100-80 back in January in Chapel Hill. Very, very easy. And one of Carolina's most impressive performances of the season against the Wolfpack in that game, only a 20-point victory. It could have been more than that, I think. But AJ, I think this is always a big game. It's going to be a great environment. It always is. Doesn't really matter how bad or good State is and vice versa, how bad or good Carolina is. PNC Arena is always rocking when the Tar Heels come to town. It's an extremely hostile environment to go into, despite, like I said, NC State sitting at 14th in the ACC right now, 11-17, 4-13 overall. Not in very good form either. Lost 9 of their last 11. And are just 7-9 at home this season in PNC Arena. So this is, like I said, a very, very struggling NC State team that has just struggled to get wins, especially in ACC play. So, AJ, heading into this environment against a struggling Wolfpack team, a Carolina team that has, won two games, 4 out of their last 5. Carolina's got to be feeling pretty good going into Raleigh, especially after what they did in January. So what are your thoughts about this one and this big game on Saturday?
I talked to a few of my NC State friends and been checking out some of the NC State media, some tweets and stuff from last night's game. We're recording this on Thursday evening, probably release this Thursday night. They lost at home to Boston College.
Yeah.
I mean, that's bad. But BC's got 6 ACC wins now, believe it or not. That's
I know, it's kind of wild.
The league. NC State, the apathy, people talked about the apathy, a lot of comments on Twitter about the apathy in the NC State fan base, which I think is awful. It's sad to see. This is a proud program. If you've been watching the ACC tournament documentary series, you see how important NC State basketball is to the fabric of ACC basketball in this area right here. And I've long ago said that, if they ever built their own on-campus arena over at State, build a new one, or let's say the Hurricanes get a building downtown and State takes over PNC Arena, they should name it after Everett Case, or name it after, call it the Case Valvano Center or something like that. Mm-hmm. There's so much history there. There's so many reasons for people to pull for the thread, for the writing on the front of the uniform. But what's unfortunate is there hasn't been a lot of success for a while there. And the apathy that people are talking about, the reason I'm bringing this up, because I don't know how wild the arena is going to be on Saturday. There's 2 schools of thought. One, they're so apathetic at this point. They've lost 15 of 19.
Oh, it's been bad. Yeah, absolutely.
They're really bad.
Yeah.
And losing at home to BC and having no inside presence defensively, Carolina's a terrible matchup for State, but pretty much everybody's been a bad matchup for State. Kevin Keats has been hanging his hat on, hey, my guys haven't quit. They're still playing hard. I know that my good friend Brett Friedlander, who covers State all the time, says that Keats is fine. He's not going anywhere. But a lot of fans are turning off. And I covered State very closely back in the Herb Sendek days, and a lot of people made their mind up about Herb Sendek. And then when he started winning, they still wouldn't change their mind. It was done. So Keats, I think, is dangerously in that little mid zone there with something like that. So the reason why it matters for this weekend is I don't know how much of a hornet's nest Carolina's going to walk into. One school of thought is the apathy is so great that it may not even be full. Or the fans will be, if Carolina opens up 6-0, the fans are like, and they don't really have the right juice, right? Mm-hmm. The other side of me says, you know what? They know Carolina's not that good. Carolina with 20 wins usually looks different than this Carolina team has with 20 wins. And the state fans know, I'm sure they know, that if they can beat Carolina and give them another loss and give them a loss to a team that Carolina should beat, that could put the Tar Heels in a position to maybe have to win the ACC tournament in Brooklyn to get to the NCAA. So they could think, hey, we can keep Carolina out of the dance.
Yeah, play spoiler.
And I know a lot of the state fans that I know very well that are great people, often they're more excited when Carolina loses than when state wins. So I do think that there'll be enough venom in the building that Carolina's going to have to respond to it, and it will invigorate the Wolfpack. And let's remember, they got some guys, man. When I look at that roster, I know they have issues defensively inside, and it's unfortunate that Bates got hurt when he did. I think they'd be a different team. I don't know how different, but they'd be a different team for sure. They still got some guys you got to guard. They got 4 guys you have to guard. They have some bodies off the bench that have played well this year. This is the kind of game that if the Tar Heels are not ready to roll, if they're not ready for the venom and maybe a little extra charge from the Wolfpack that the Pack didn't have last month in Chapel Hill, then they have a chance of playing themselves into a close game down the end like they have recently with some bad teams. And I would give State and Sebron's ability to drive and some of those guys' ability to hit shots, Smith's ability to hit shots. I think he's got 83s now. A lot of State fans would take that opportunity. So Carolina's got to be ready to play, put that crowd out early, go to Armando, go to him again, go to him again, go to him again, and win the game that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to hit on Darian Sebron real quick because he's the guy for the Wolfpack, and you'll see why in a second. Leads the team in minutes. Hold on tight, guys. This is a wild ride. Leads the team in minutes, scoring, rebounds, assists, steals, turnovers, and field goal percentage. So playing 36 minutes a game, averaging 18 points, 8.6 boards, 3.2 assists, 1.4 steals, 2.6 turnovers, and shooting over 50% from the floor at 51.5. He's the guy for him. He's the guy you got to slow down. He's the guy you got to stop because, as you can see, all things kind of go through him. And when you look at NC State statistically, he is the guy that stands out. So building off of that, I know you kind of hit on it a little bit already. Do you think it's a case of Carolina exploiting, once again, State's weaknesses down low via a guy like Armando Bacot, maybe Brady Mannett getting some minutes down there as well? Do you think that's kind of the key to victory for Carolina against this struggling NC State Wolfpack team?
Offensively, but they got to defend. Mm-hmm. State can shoot the 3. They got 3 dudes that can shoot the 3. And Sebron doesn't shoot it very well, doesn't shoot it a ton. He's a driver.
Yes, slasher kind
if he's driving and having success, he's a willing passer if a guy's open. I'll look at that team, and it just doesn't – I know that if Bates was there, it would be a totally different club. And I talked to Friedlander about it a lot, and when that happened, he said, man, it's going to kill this team. This is 3.5 months ago when it happened. Mm-hmm. But you still have to defend them, especially if they're charged up and ready to go. They're not going to roll in there like a club that's lost 15 and 19. They're going to roll in there seeing that Carolina blue and knowing that, man, we could really screw up their season. They
really could too, yeah.
And Carolina has been a willing accomplice in that lately. Pittsburgh says, hey, remember us? That was just a week ago. They barely beat Clemson. They barely beat Louisville. Carolina hasn't been clobbering the bad teams lately. So this is a losable game for Carolina. It's a winnable game for State. I think they're going to get whatever the best is that the Wolfpack have left. They're going to get that. So they need to be ready. And the best way to show that you're ready isn't by hitting shots. It's by defending. Mm-hmm. Limit Smith's ability, Sebron's ability to drive. And someone's got to get on those 3-point shooters. Carolina does not close out well on the 3. Virginia Tech missed a ton of open threes. Carolina won because the Hokies didn't hit. It wasn't because Carolina closed out on threes all day long. So State's probably going to get some open threes. And if the pack is hot, this is a dangerous, dangerous game for the Tar Heels.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fun one to cover, as always. Going to be an interesting one to kind of see.
I miss.
Go ahead. Go ahead, AJ. You got it.
Well, I was to say, I miss going over there when they matter.
Yeah.
I covered some pretty good teams over there. I love those Ilya Evtimov, Julius Hodge teams. And, a bad ACC team would be in town. They'd have 16,000 in the building.
Yeah.
I love that because the fans were a sixth man for them. And certainly when the Tar Heels would come into town. I hope that atmosphere is like that because I think it's good for the Tar Heels too. It makes it more drama, makes another layer of something for us as journalists to cover and to, equate into the pot of the game, if you will. Throw into the more things you can throw into the pot and mix it up, the better, the more interesting. And I think if Absolutely. The fans are there and they're on it and the pack plays well early, I think it makes it more interesting. Plus, I just like the idea of seeing the Tar Heels respond to things. And maybe they have to respond right out of the gate. Maybe this is one of those games where the Tar Heels just, go in there and shut the crowd up right away. This club generally doesn't do that. They played really well early in games at home, but they haven't gone on the road somewhere and just romped somebody and been on all points right out of the gate. This is a game where if they're like that, I think they can carve State's heart out pretty quickly. If not, they let them hang in there. It becomes a very dangerous game.
Yeah, very winnable game for the Tar Heels. But like you said, they got to show up. And we've seen many a times this year where Carolina, especially on the road, let's keep that in mind, simply hasn't shown up. And they've shown.
They're 6-3 in true road games. And the two full houses they played in, Charleston, they closed strong. Virginia Tech, they closed strong as well. So they have that going for them. I actually think Caleb Love is learning to play well on the road, learning to step up on the road. At Louisville, he's yelling to students. Not going to repeat what he was yelling. At Virginia Tech, he was yelling to the students. At Clemson, he was kind of having some fun with the students. So I think that's one of the things I wrote in my 5 keys for this game. Can Caleb be infused by the atmosphere? I think he's a guy that doesn't mind that. I don't think it phases him too much. So if his game goes up a notch because the place is on him and there's a huge buzz in the building, then I think that helps Carolina. So far, I think Caleb is learning to be a pretty good player on the road, especially at crunch time.
Yeah, he's feeding off that energy that he gets from the crowd, and I think that's great. That's stuff I love to see in sports. I don't care what level you're playing.
It's moxie.
Yeah, and you got to have it. You got to have it, especially in this league. I know it's a down league, but especially at this level of basketball, I should say, you're going into a lot of hostile environments. You got to be able to feed out of that crowd instead of being negatively affected by it, because you can be very easily. We've seen it countless times, not only with North Carolina throughout the years, but any team in the country. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of energy is in that building. And if there is a buzz, a really electric atmosphere in PNC, how does Carolina respond to that? That's going to be a fun thing to kind of follow during that one, especially early on, like you mentioned. Let's move on to Syracuse real quick, AJ. Senior Day, that's a next Monday night, 7 p.m. tip in the Smith Center. A Syracuse team that has actually looked better in recent weeks. I know 8th in the ACC right now, so kind of middle of the road in that respect. 15-13 overall, 9-8 in conference play. Just 3-7 on the road this season, though. But one thing going for Syracuse at the moment is they have won 6 of their last 8 games, which is a positive for them as well. So, same kind of suspects. I know Buddy Boeheim's the guy that I think a lot of Carolina fans, even someone like me who's been in the media for a few years now, I feel like he's been at Syracuse forever now. Leading scorer for the Orange, averaging 19 points per game. You got Cole Switter down low for Syracuse, leads them in rebounds at 7 rebounds per 6'9". So a body that Carolina's got to be wary of, especially on the boards. And you got Joe Girard, who some Carolina fans will probably remember as well throughout the years, currently leads them in assist at 1.7 at the point guard position. So obviously in terms of Carolina, you got Leaky Black, Ryan McAdoo, and graduate transfer Brady Manick all set to be honored during senior night on Monday. So not a ton of seniors on this Carolina team. It's not like this is a, heavy upperclassman team with a bunch of seniors, but still you want to win senior night no matter who's a part of it, no matter what the opponent is. So another big opportunity for Carolina to pick up a win at home in their last home game of the season ahead of the trip to Duke. And I think when you're looking at Syracuse, despite them playing better in recent weeks, this is another game Carolina should expect to win. But let's not forget, Pitt happened only a couple weeks ago. Now it feels like a lot longer ago, but that was not long ago. So this is a Carolina team that has proven this year, not only away from home at times, like we talked about, but at home, that they can lose to some much lesser opponents. And I think Syracuse is pretty safe to say is a better basketball team than Pitt is this year. So AJ, what are your thoughts going into Carolina's senior night matchup next Monday against the Orange?
They're a lot better than those teams. They're maybe not Virginia Tech. I don't think they're far off. Syracuse has been playing better of late. You just pointed out they won 6 of 8. They got Duke this weekend at home. And I've said this a couple of times this year. Carolina's played a couple of teams this year that are coming off playing Duke. I don't think that's right. I don't think a team in the league should ever have to play Duke and Carolina back-to-back under any circumstances. I guess one game, Virginia Tech, I think, was thrown into it when they had to play the makeup from the postponement of COVID back in late December. That was sort of unavoidable, but Syracuse should not have to play these 2 games, especially in a 3-day period. That's wrong because of the way kids get up for these games. So I think playing them coming off Duke, regardless of what happens against Duke, probably helps Carolina a little bit. It's generally been that way. But at the same time, it may not really matter because this is an older Syracuse team. Swider's been around, Jimmy Boeheim's been around, Buddy's been around, Gerard's been around. These are dudes that can play. And I actually think Syracuse is one of those teams to keep an eye on in Brooklyn. Syracuse and Brooklyn and Virginia are 2 teams. I could see them both getting hot, especially Syracuse, the way the Qs can shoot sometimes. A couple of things to look at going into this one. Buddy Boeheim has been struggling lately from 3. I think he's like 11 for his last 43 over the last 5 games. That means he's about to get hot. Yeah, because the stretch before – the 3-game stretch before that, he was 14 of 27. So he's about to get hot. Does he get hot Saturday for Duke? And I think Syracuse could beat Duke because of their ability to hit a lot of threes in bunches. Boeheim, I think, has hit at least 3 threes in 14 games. Gerard's done it in 14 games. I think Swider's done it in 13 games this year. And even Jimmy Boeheim could also shoot the 3. I think he's had at least 4 in 3 games. So they can stand around out there and just rain threes. And they're tough to guard because it's not like you have to, like last year when Carolina played Syracuse, Buddy was great in the first half. Roy put Leaky on him and said, just stay in his grill, don't let him get the ball. And I think Buddy got 2 shots in the second half. They can win games when Buddy's not taking a lot of shots because they have 5. Well, they had 5 starters that scored double figures. Edwards is now out for the year. And that's, I think, where Carolina can hurt them because Edwards had become a pretty solid player in the post for him. Now they don't really have a great answer there, I think. And Carolina's had success against that zone before. So Armando could be a factor. Brady Manick, at either on the baseline or at the top of that zone or at the free throw line, rather, inside that zone, I think he can have some success in that game. But they're going to have to hit some threes too because Syracuse is going to shoot a lot of them, and they're going to hit some of them. And the way people have been shooting threes against Carolina at times this year, the Qs could hit a lot of them. So the question is, do they hit so many that it stresses Carolina? Because one of the things that is a big problem with Carolina that wasn't an issue under Roy is under Roy and even under Dean, Carolina got a lot of extra possessions because they were really good on the offensive glass. Always rebounding between 38 and 45% of their missed shots. This club's rebounding about 26% of its missed shots. The other thing is the Roy and Dean teams, and I say them both together because that's the Carolina way of basketball. People think of North Carolina basketball, they think of that stuff. Really good at forcing turnovers getting into transition. So they created extra possessions for themselves by grabbing their own missed shots and by getting steals that they were able to turn into easy transition opportunities. This club doesn't do that, so it puts more stress and more pressure on them to execute at a very high level offensively. That's why sometimes you see Carolina losing in a game to shoot like 48%. Usually you shoot 48% and you're grabbing a lot of your offensive rebounds and you're getting a lot of steals and points in transition. It means you're probably winning the game. That's not always the case with this team. So against Syracuse, if the Qs are hitting a bunch of threes, and remember, for every 2 threes you hit, it's like an extra possession. If you're to a team that's not hitting a lot of threes, it's going to stress Carolina some. So they're going to have to play at a very high level of efficiency on offense in that game and somehow figure out a way to get Qs to just have an off night. And Carolina hasn't defended one hot shooter in the perimeter very well this year. They're going to have to defend potentially 4 in that game. And the fact that Gerard will walk the ball across the timeline, take 3 dribbles and shoot. And he hits a lot of them.
Yeah, he's not scared to pull the trigger.
Yeah, everyone talks about Buddy, but man, Gerard is he's actually leading them in 3-point shooting. You could argue this season he's been the best 3-point shooter in the ACC.
Mm-hmm. He's big time.
So,
yeah, he's a good player.
I think not having Edwards hurts them, but I also think that this club is playing their best basketball. They knew who they are. And look, if they get hot for a few days, they can win in Brooklyn. If they get hot Monday night in Chapel Hill, they can beat the Tar Heels too.
Yeah, speaking of Syracuse, just in terms of how good they are at 3-point shooting in the ACC, I know it's a down ACC this year, but they're currently sit 3rd in the league, just behind North Carolina, funny enough, at 3-point field goal percentage, actually tied with North Carolina. Syracuse just played an extra game. They're both shooting 37.6% from beyond the arc. Syracuse is 2nd in the league, right behind Notre Dame at 9 3-pointers made per game. Notre Dame's at 9.2. So this is a very good 3-point shooting team at Syracuse. AJ, I want to ask you this real quick about the Cuse. And you hit on the zone that, the famous zone that Syracuse likes to play. Roy Williams had a lot of success playing against Syracuse's zone in the past. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to transfer to Hubert Davis. Now, Hubert was on Roy's staff for 10 years. You might expect him to have learned a few things about that, but we've seen Hubert do kind of his own thing this year in a lot of respects and not do the same things that Roy were doing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But looking at Carolina's team on paper and the way they played this year, majority of a jump shooting team, a team that likes to shoot threes, a team that's only real option down low as a true big is Armando Bacot, who's having a really, really good, definitely first team all ACC year for the Tar Heels. Don't make any mistakes about it. When you look at this Carolina team, do you think this is a Carolina team on paper and maybe what you've seen from them this year that translates well to playing against Syracuse's zone, or is it kind of to be determined depending on what Carolina may try to do under Hubert Davis against this Syracuse zone?
I think the chemistry that we've seen with Armando and Brady is a positive sign with respect to your question. I'll never forget, it's 2016. I was up there at the Carrier Dome. That was a night that Bryce Johnson had 7 assists. Mm-hmm. 6 of them went to Isaiah Hicks on the baseline.
I remember that. Yeah.
So Roy owned that zone. People used to say, "Oh, Roy's a terrible zone coach." Well, the most vaunted zone in the country, Roy used to eat up most of the time. So, and he did it with different guys. But Bryce Johnson at the free throw line, he had to be respected because he could shoot that jumper. Probably a little more so than Armando has shown so far, but Armando can hit that shot. If he can hit a couple ones, you got Brady on the baseline. Depends on if they're willing to play Brady there. I mean, if they're playing 4 out against the zone, I think that might play a little bit in the zone's hands because you got to make that thing move. They still have a lot of length out there, and the length has always been one of the attributes in that zone. They don't have as much inside. They're not as stout inside. They could have some success around the rim, maybe more than usual against Syracuse, but you've got to be able to find your spots and hit the little pockets in there and score from some of those pockets. The team a couple of years ago, the 14 and 19 club went up there and ate up that zone. Mm-hmm. That was their best win. That was their best performance. They looked more like North Carolina that day than I can recall from that season. And it wasn't just Cole. Keeling had a great game. A bunch of those guys had Playtech even had some pretty good minutes in that game. So they got a lot from a lot of guys, and that's what you need. You need to make that zone move and find the spots in it and hit shots. I mean, it's pretty much basketball 101, right? Yeah. But they've been able to do it before. I will be interested to see where Brady plays against this zone. They're only going to have 1 day to prepare for it. They haven't seen them yet, so it'll be the first time seeing them. So it'll be interesting to see how Hubert approaches it. If he approaches it using that short baseline, which Carolina's had a lot of success doing, because you can score from it, you can pass from it, hit guys cutting, you can kick out, you can do all kinds of things. It'll be very interesting to see how they approach it.
Yeah. Any predictions for these NC State and Syracuse?
Well,
it's tough to predict against Carolina, but
yeah, I mean, honestly, if Carolina's worth their salt, they're going to beat State, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's no guarantee with this North Carolina team. They have 20 wins, but man, they don't resonate like a 20-win team.
No, they definitely don't.
And I still think this team is discovering things about itself 28 games into the season. So I still think that they're here. I believe they can be up here. And I think they know they've got to climb. It's just that sometimes they don't take 4 or 5 steps in a game. It's a very slow climb. Sometimes they just kind of hang out for a while.
Yeah, they just chill for a little bit.
So, and they may never get to that top step this year, but they certainly had the potential to. They should, if they're worth their salt, they'll beat State. I think Syracuse is a more difficult game because of the Q's ability to hit shots and take wide open shots. They're going to get a lot of open shots against Carolina. So Carolina fans are going to have to go in there and hope they shoot like the Hokies did. But they have better shooters than the Hokies do as well. So I think they should win both games. They're better than both teams. They're at home against Syracuse. If that game was in the Carrier Dome, I would think it's really dangerous for Carolina. But it's not. It's at home. I don't give a lot of credence to senior night being worth all that much. I've seen really, really good teams lose on senior night. The focus component is a factor at times on senior night. So I do think 2-0, and then they have to go 2-0, Jacob.
Yeah,
they go 2-0. They want to have pressure that Duke won't be a must-win game. If they lose either one of these games, they have to win at Duke, or they have to win the ACC tournament, because a lot of people in the national media don't want them in the tournament.
Yeah.
And they're filling the ears of whoever's listening. I know there's only a handful of people who go in that room. They're going to make a decision. If this club doesn't take care of business before Selection Sunday, there's going to be a lot of pressure on the committee to not include them.
Absolutely. Got to keep winning. Got to keep winning.
So I hate the term control your own destiny, because somebody else also is performing too. So if two teams are controlling their own destiny, where's the give? However, if Carolina is ready to go, and they defend and they rebound, which is part of being ready to go. Both are. I think the Tar Heels should win these next two games, 22-8 winning roll in Durham. And who knows? Give them a chance to go in there and pick up a shocker. You never know.
Yeah. We'll see what happens, AJ. Big games coming up again for the Tar Heels. Just got to keep winning. We've said it once. We're going to keep saying it. It's just that's the situation Carolina's been in for the last few weeks in particular, really probably longer than that. So big games coming up. NC State on Saturday. We'll be in PNC Arena for that one, obviously, and obviously we'll be at home on Monday for the Syracuse game, senior night for the Tar Heels. So big matchups coming up. Always fun one to cover in Raleigh. Looking forward to heading over there and checking that one out. Really interested to see what that crowd's like based on how NC State's done this year. But, that's always a fun game to cover, to say the least. I know you've covered a lot more in there than I have, AJ, but the ones I've been to have been some wild atmospheres, to say the least. So
this will be my 26 years. So I think this will be 25 of the last 26 times Carolina's been over there.
Good games.
And when I was covering State, I did all of them during that stretch, and all the Duke ones there too. And that was back when lots of teams would come in. It's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It'd be great to see State get back up that level and see all the teams in this area playing at a very high level and seeing ACC basketball matter a little bit more, I think, than it has this year.
Yeah, this down ACC stuff is for the birds, man. I need ACC basketball to be back where it is. I need ACC basketball to be back where it's supposed to be. So,
I had season credentials. I think it was in the 04-05 season. I had season credentials to State, Duke, Carolina, and Wake when I was with Star News. And there was a week before Christmas where all four were in the top 10.
That's what I'm talking about.
I covered 86 college basketball games that year.
Yeah,
that was heaven for me, man. That was great.
But yeah, I about to say, you probably love that.
Yeah, I did.
86 games is a lot, man.
No doubt.
Strictly basketball too. Sheesh. Well, hopefully we'll see the ACC over that. It's not going to happen this year. Spoiler alert. Hopefully we'll see the ACC over the next couple of years get back to that. But yeah, I mean, I know a lot of Carolina fans won't want to hear it, and we're not going to hit on it for too much longer. But you would like the teams in this area, and yes, that does include Duke, State, and Wake Forest for all the Carolina fans out there grimacing right now. You want to see those teams be better. It's better for the league. It's better for Carolina basketball. It's just
but that's our lens. But we're media, and that's our lens.
Yeah, Carolina.
Because I want the games to matter tomorrow. I want there to be more heat. Mm-hmm. But I guarantee you that most of the Carolina fans watching this want State and Duke to suck.
Oh, yeah, not a chance in hell.
They're not worried about that.
Trust me, I get it.
Yeah, they're not worried about it. But that's okay. We can all see things through our own unique lenses, right?
Exactly. Good place to wrap this one up, AJ. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Make sure you guys head on over to TarHeelIllustrated.com. If you want to sign up, be a premium member, just $8.33 a month. There's a ton of content that you can't see unless you're signed up, and you can't see our premium message boards either. If you're not signed up, can't, comment, have access to those, which is a huge part of the draw and what we do at TarHeelIllustrated.com. So if you want access to that, premium articles, more content, head on over to TarHeelIllustrated.com, link in the description below, and sign up for just $33 a month. Make sure you check out the Rogue Shop too at therogueshop.com. Use that promo code Tar Heels 10 to save. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We're on the road to 10,000 before basketball, 10,000 subscribers, I should say, before the basketball season ends. Less than 700 away now, AJ. We're making ground. We're
creeping toward there.
Well, we're going to get there at some point. I'm hoping to do it for basketball, but even if it's in the summer, we're going to get there sometime soon. So keep sharing with your friends. Keep telling everybody about it. Yeah, hey, that might be the next goal, but I'm holding out hope that we can get it done over the next month or so as the season comes down to a close. So, hey, if the Tar Heels keep winning, we'll keep drawing that season out, and then we'll have our goal will be stretched even further. So we'll see what happens next month.
They just got to beat that NC State team. I wouldn't worry about them going on.
Yeah, we can't get too far ahead with.
We'll talk about that before I go to Brooklyn.
Exactly. Got to pick up wins against State and Syracuse coming up next. Exactly. Those are the most important games for the Tar Heels.
In front of you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks.